Welcome back to Yawn and Gone. Today we dive into the question that has had scientists scratching their heads for centuries. Who inhabited the Earth first? Chapter 1. The Mystery of Missing Prehistory. The Earth is old. Unfathomably old. Our planet formed more than 4.5 billion years ago, a swirling mass of molten rock and dust that slowly cooled into the world we recognize today. Mountains rose and fell. Oceans expanded and vanished. Continents drifted across the surface like puzzle pieces on a restless board. In all that time, countless species lived, thrived, and disappeared. Entire ecosystems came and went, each leaving only faint traces in stone. But when we turn to ourselves, Homo sapiens, we find a story shockingly brief. Humans, in our modern form, have been here for about 300,000 years. Civilization, as we usually define it, cities, governments, agriculture, writing, emerged only in the last 6,000 years. That is a mere instant in geological time. To put it into perspective, if the entire history of the Earth were compressed into a single year, modern humans would appear at just a few minutes before midnight on December 31st. Civilization itself, our skyscrapers, our art, our history, would be born in the final seconds. So the question arises, what happened during the rest of that year? What filled the endless expanses of time before us? Is it possible that we are not the first to build, to dream, to shape the Earth in our image? This is the unsettling idea behind what scientists call the Silurian hypothesis. The thought experiment proposes that if there had once been another industrial civilization on Earth, tens of millions of years ago, would we even be able to detect its traces today? At first, the idea sounds absurd. Surely we would find ruins, tools, or unmistakable fossils of intelligent beings. But when we look closer, the truth is more humbling. The Earth is not a gentle archive of history. It is a relentless recycler, grinding stone into sand, swallowing continents into the fiery mantle below, and reshaping the surface again and again. Civilizations, even mighty ones, are fragile in the face of such forces. Think of our own world. If humanity were to vanish tomorrow, how long would our legacy truly last? Skyscrapers would collapse in a few centuries. Bridges and highways would crumble to dust. Forests would reclaim our cities, swallowing concrete and steel beneath roots and soil. In 10,000 years, only scattered ruins would remain. In 1,000,000 years, even those would be gone. And in 10 million? Nothing recognizable would survive. The fossil record itself is notoriously incomplete. Even species that thrived for millions of years often left only a handful of preserved remains. Dinosaurs roamed the Earth for over 150 million years, yet much of what we know about them is pieced together from fragments, scattered bones, teeth, and impressions in rock. If creatures as dominant and long-lasting as dinosaurs are represented so sparingly, what chance would a short-lived civilization have to leave behind undeniable traces? And here lies the heart of the mystery, the possibility that deep time has swallowed the evidence of civilizations before us. Perhaps they rose and fell so long ago that the Earth has erased them almost completely. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the world, not as it is now, but as it might have been 50 million years ago. The continents are unrecognizable, the air thick and heavy with ancient forests, strange creatures moving through the shadows. Now imagine, hidden among them, a civilization, not human but intelligent, A people with cities, technologies, and ambitions. Perhaps they reached for the stars. Perhaps they built monuments. Perhaps they lived, as we do, in pursuit of survival and meaning. And then, one day, they were gone. Extinguished. Forgotten. Consumed by the Earth's endless cycle of creation and destruction. Could we ever know? This is the haunting question that drives us to search the silence of stone for whispers of the past. And it forces us to reflect on our own fragile place in history. For if others have come before us and vanished without a trace, what hope do we have of being remembered? Archaeology teaches us that human achievements can vanish quickly. Consider the ancient city of Çatalhöyük in Turkey, one of the world's earliest known urban centers. For nearly 2,000 years, its people built, farmed, and thrived. Yet after its decline, it was buried beneath layers of soil, lost to memory until archaeologists uncovered it in the 20th century. And this site is only 9,000 years old. Multiply that span of forgetting by millions of years, and you begin to sense the scale of the problem. Even the grand monuments we believe eternal are far from indestructible. The Great Pyramids of Giza, standing for 4,500 years, are already weathered by wind and sand. Given another 10,000 years, they too would crumble. Given 1,000,000, the desert might erase them completely. Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, the Great Wall of China, all would vanish. Now imagine, if another civilization had built wonders tens of millions of years ago, what trace could possibly survive? Some suggest we might look not for structures, but for signatures in the earth itself. Industrial activity leaves chemical footprints, unusual concentrations of metals, plastics, radioactive isotopes. Our age, sometimes called the Anthropocene, will likely be remembered in the distant future not for monuments, but for the chemical scars we have left in the soil, the oceans, and the atmosphere. If another civilization once walked the earth, their remains may not be cities, but subtle anomalies in the geological record. This is what scientists mean when they speak of deep time. Our lives are measured in decades. Civilizations span centuries. The earth thinks in millions. What seems permanent to us is but a passing moment in the language of stone. As we step into this vast, dizzying scale of time, we begin to see history differently. It is not a straight line of progress, but a fragmented story, with entire chapters missing. And perhaps, hidden in those blank pages, lies the truth that we are not the first to wonder, not the first to build, and not the first to vanish. This is the mystery of missing prehistory. The silence before our story. The question that lingers when we look at the stars, or hold the fossil in our hands. Are we truly the first? And so, with this question, our journey begins. Chapter 2: The Fragility of Civilization. Civilization feels solid, permanent. We walk through modern cities and marvel at the towering glass skyscrapers, the highways, the neon lights, the constant hum of machines. Everything about our daily lives gives the impression of permanence, of progress marching ever forward. But beneath this illusion lies a truth we seldom acknowledge. Civilization is fragile. More fragile than we like to believe. Consider for a moment how thin the thread of our modern existence really is. Cities are fed by long chains of supply that stretch across continents. Food is grown hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles away, and shipped in vast quantities by planes, trucks, and ships. Our electricity comes from power plants that must run constantly to sustain our lives. Fresh water flows through carefully maintained networks of pipes and treatment plants. If these systems were to falter, if transport stopped, if the power grid collapsed, if water ceased to flow, our vast urban populations would face catastrophe in mere days. Shelves would empty, lights would go dark, and chaos would follow swiftly. Civilization, for all its grandeur, balances on a knife's edge. Now, imagine our world not today, but thousands of years from now. Suppose humanity, for reasons unknown, war, climate collapse, pandemic, or cosmic disaster, were to fall. How long would our presence linger on Earth? Archaeologists and scientists have considered this very question. Their answers are sobering. Within a century, nature would reclaim our cities. Roads would crack as grass and trees forced their way through. Steel bridges would rust and fall. Skyscrapers would lose their windows, then their walls, until only skeletal frames remained. Without constant human care, almost every structure we know would crumble. Within a few thousand years, forests would blanket much of the land. Rivers, freed from dams and canals, would carve new paths. Wildlife would surge into spaces once ruled by concrete. From orbit, Earth would no longer show signs of our dominion. By 1,000,000 years, only the faintest traces of humanity might remain, subtle scars in the soil, odd concentrations of metals, fragments of plastic buried in sediments. By 10,000,000, even these may vanish, transformed by heat, pressure, and the restless churn of geology. This is the uncomfortable reality. If we disappeared tomorrow, our legacy would be erased almost completely in a geological instant. And this brings us back to the haunting question of lost civilizations. If others rose before us, how could their presence endure the endless grinding of Earth's processes? If a great culture lived tens of millions of years ago, would we even recognize their remains? We know civilizations are vulnerable, even within human memory. Consider the Minoans, who flourished on the island of Crete nearly 4,000 years ago. They built palaces of extraordinary sophistication, with plumbing, frescoes, and architecture far ahead of their time. Yet a series of catastrophes, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, invasions, brought their world to ruin. For centuries, their memory vanished. When archaeologists rediscovered them in the late 19th century, they were shocked at the sophistication of this forgotten society. Or think of Teotihuacan in Mexico, once one of the largest cities in the ancient world, home to more than 100,000 people. Its pyramids still stand, but the city's rulers, culture, and language remain a mystery. By the time Europeans arrived in the Americas, even the Aztecs did not know who had built it. Within just a few centuries of abandonment, history had swallowed the story of a civilization. If this can happen in mere thousands of years, what about millions? What about tens of millions? The Earth itself conspires against memory. Consider plate tectonics, the vast, slow movement of continents across the planet's surface. Over millions of years, land masses shift, collide, and sink. Ocean floors are created and destroyed. Mountains rise, then erode into plains. The surface of the Earth is not a static archive, it is a restless canvas, endlessly erased and redrawn. Even fossils, the strongest evidence of past life, are rare. To fossilize, a creature must be buried quickly, in conditions that prevent decay. Then, across millions of years, minerals replace organic material, preserving the shape of bones or shells. But most creatures that have ever lived vanished without a trace. Their bodies decomposed, their bones crumbled, their existence forgotten. Fossils are not the rule, they are the exception. Now apply this harsh filter to a civilization. What are the chances that buildings, machines, or artifacts survive long enough to become fossils? Almost none. And yet, as fragile as civilizations are, we often imagine ourselves immune. We believe progress is inevitable, that technology will protect us from collapse. But history tells a different story. The Roman Empire spanned centuries and controlled vast territories. Its legions built roads, aqueducts, and cities across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. At its height, Rome seemed eternal. Yet it fell. Slowly at first, then suddenly, the empire crumbled under the weight of invasions, economic troubles, and political decay. What remained was not its grandeur, but centuries of darkness in Europe, where knowledge and progress faltered. Civilization is not a guarantee. It is a fragile achievement, vulnerable to disaster, to time, and to forgetfulness. And so we return to the unsettling possibility: if another civilization rose before us, alien not in origin, but in age, its traces may have been swallowed by the same forces that threaten our own. Their monuments reduced to sand, their knowledge erased, their memory lost in the silence of deep time. This fragility is not just a warning about the past. It is also a reflection of our future. If we wish to endure, we must learn from history. For we too stand on the knife's edge, believing ourselves eternal, yet surrounded by forces beyond our control. Civilization, like life itself, is fleeting. And in the grand theater of the earth, even the greatest achievements may last only a moment before the curtain falls. Chapter 3: The Geological Time Machine. The Earth is old. Unimaginably old. Our calendars, our histories, even our myths struggle to grasp it. To humans, a century feels long. A millennium feels vast. But these are flickers, sparks in the dark compared to the ages the Earth has endured. Scientists estimate our planet is 4.5 billion years old. For nearly all of that time, it has carried the endless cycles of creation and destruction, oceans rising and falling, continents drifting and colliding, mountains thrust skyward only to erode back into dust. To understand the possibility of lost civilizations, we must first learn how Earth records its history. That story lies in the rocks beneath our feet. The layers of time. The Earth is a vast time machine, and its memory is written in stone. Geologists read these memories the way historians read manuscripts. Layers of sediment, deposited over millions of years, become a record of ancient environments. A river may lay down sand and silt that harden into sandstone. A shallow sea may leave behind limestone filled with shells. Volcanic ash, frozen in time, can pinpoint catastrophic eruptions. And buried within these layers, fossils provide snapshots of life that once thrived. This science, called stratigraphy, is our greatest tool for peering into the deep past. Each layer is like a page in Earth's diary, recording a chapter of its story. But here lies the problem. Diaries can be lost. Pages can be torn out. And Earth's diary is no exception. A broken record. Unlike a library, where books can sit untouched for centuries, Earth's archive is constantly being rewritten. Wind and rain erode rocks away. Rivers carve valleys. Earthquakes shatter layers. And most powerfully of all, plate tectonics swallows entire landscapes, recycling them into the molten depths of the mantle. This means the further back we look, the less we have to read. Large portions of Earth's history are simply gone. In North America, the Great Unconformity is one such mystery, a gap in the rock record that erases over 1 billion years of time. What stories were lost there? What evidence might have been swallowed forever? If a civilization had risen in that lost span, we would have little hope of finding it now. Fossils and their rarity. Even when conditions are right, fossilization is an exceedingly rare process. The vast majority of living things decay, their bones and bodies erased. Only under special circumstances, burial in mud, ash, or tar, do remains survive. That's why entire worlds of ancient life are unknown to us. For example, the Burgess Shale in Canada preserved an extraordinary array of soft-bodied creatures from over 500 million years ago. Without this rare deposit, we might never have known they existed. Now imagine searching for the remains of a civilization. Skyscrapers, machines, even statues are not likely to fossilize. They would crumble, erode, and be scattered long before they could be preserved. Only the rarest of conditions, like burial in volcanic ash or entombment beneath sediments, could preserve such artifacts. The odds are slim, but not impossible. Geological anomalies. Scientists have discovered puzzling features in Earth's rocks, anomalies that raise questions. For example, there are layers rich in unusual concentrations of metals, such as iridium, which is rare on Earth but common in asteroids. One such layer marks the impact that ended the reign of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. To a geologist, this thin band of metal is unmistakable evidence of catastrophe. Could a civilization leave behind similar signatures? Perhaps not skyscrapers or machines, but chemical fingerprints, plastics, synthetic compounds, radioactive isotopes that do not occur naturally. These might survive far longer than structures. They could linger in the rocks as silent evidence of intelligent activity. Some researchers have even speculated about this idea, calling it the Silurian hypothesis, a thought experiment proposed by NASA scientists asking, if an advanced civilization existed millions of years ago, how would we detect it today? Their conclusion, not through artifacts or ruins, but through subtle chemical traces embedded in the geological record. Deep time and lost possibilities. When we speak of deep time, we step into scales of duration almost beyond imagination. Consider the dinosaurs. They ruled Earth for over 160 million years. By comparison, humans have existed in recognizable form for less than 300,000. Our entire recorded history, from the Sumerians to today, spans barely 5,000 years. Now imagine if, within that vast reign of the dinosaurs, another intelligent species had emerged. One that rose, built cities, then fell, tens of millions of years before the first humans walked upright. Would we even know? Or would time and geology have buried them completely? The unsettling answer is that we cannot be certain. Clues from the past. There are whispers, hints that keep the imagination alive. Some ancient coal seams and rocks show unusual chemical residues that some speculate could be industrial in origin. Most scientists explain these as natural processes, but the fact that the debate exists shows how difficult it is to read Earth's diary with certainty. And then there are out-of-place artifacts, or parts, objects claimed to be impossibly old for their level of sophistication. Most of these are misunderstandings, misidentifications, or outright hoaxes. Yet they linger in public imagination because they touch on a deeper truth, that our knowledge of the past is incomplete, riddled with gaps. Earth, the eraser. The earth is a patient eraser. It hides its secrets well. If we are not careful, it may one day erase us too. When we study geology, we are humbled by the realization that permanence is an illusion. Civilizations rise and fall. Continents shift and oceans consume. And within a few million years, an eye blink in cosmic time, the traces of our existence may be reduced to little more than faint whispers in stone. The earth is not a museum. It is a restless, living world. And in that restless churn, entire histories may be lost forever. Chapter 4: Forgotten Extinctions. Extinction. It is a word that conjures endings. The vanishing of creatures, the silencing of entire lineages, the abrupt closing of life's chapters. Yet, paradoxically, extinction is also a beginning. Every great loss has paved the way for renewal. Life's story is not linear, it is cyclical, filled with destruction and rebirth. When we consider whether humanity is the first civilization, we must look to the greatest erasures in Earth's history, the mass extinctions. These cataclysms were not only endings. They were cleansings, reshufflings, opportunities for life to begin again. And in those long-forgotten voids, there is space for speculation, space where entire civilizations, if they existed, could have risen and fallen, their traces wiped away. The nature of extinction. Extinction is normal. Every species that has ever lived faces it eventually. Over 99% of all species to ever exist are now gone. Some faded slowly, outcompeted or adapted out of existence. Others vanished in sudden collapses, victims of disasters far beyond their control. But among these countless endings, there are 5 moments so colossal, so devastating, that they stand apart. We call them the Big Five, mass extinctions. These are the times when life itself teetered on the brink, when ecosystems unraveled, and when the Earth reset its biological clock. The first extinction, the Ordovician Silurian event. About 443 million years ago, long before fish had crawled onto land, the Earth experienced its first great purge. The Ordovician oceans teemed with strange creatures, armored trilobites, coral reefs, and the first jawless fish. Then, suddenly, nearly 85% of marine species disappeared. The cause? Scientists believe it was a global cooling event triggered by massive glaciation. Seas retreated. Habitats vanished. The oceans, once rich and warm, became barren and cold. If any early, intelligent species had begun experimenting with life in the seas, crafting tools, shaping their environment, this extinction would have buried them in silence. The Devonian extinction, the age of fish, ends. Fast forward to about 372 million years ago, during what is known as the Age of Fish. Vast armored species swam through the oceans, and the first forests grew on land. Yet over the span of 20 million years, life suffered repeated blows. This was not a single event, but a prolonged dying. 3/4 of all species were lost. Coral reefs collapsed. Strange giant fish vanished. The exact cause remains uncertain. Climate shifts, volcanic eruptions, and even possible asteroid strikes are suspects. Again, if an intelligent species had begun to rise in this time, perhaps experimenting with building in coastal environments, or harnessing the forests, it too would have been erased, with little hope of surviving the drawn-out calamity. The Great Dying, the Permian-Triassic extinction. Then came the most catastrophic extinction in Earth's history, the Great Dying, about 252 million years ago. Here, the Earth nearly lost everything. Over 90% of all species were wiped out, both in the seas and on land. The oceans became acidic and suffocating, filled with deadly microbes. Vast volcanic eruptions in Siberia darkened skies and poisoned the atmosphere. This was no ordinary reset. It was as if the Earth pressed a hard reset button, erasing nearly all life's progress. If civilizations had risen before this, whether reptilian, amphibian, or otherwise, they would have been obliterated, leaving behind nothing but fragmented shadows. The Triassic-Jurassic extinction, dinosaurs' opportunity. Around 201 million years ago, another extinction cleared the way for one of Earth's most famous dynasties, the dinosaurs. Volcanic eruptions tore apart the supercontinent Pangaea, releasing greenhouse gases that cooked the planet. Roughly 75% of species vanished. Yet from this chaos emerged opportunity. Dinosaurs, once minor players, now became dominant. Their reign would last for over 160 million years. This extinction teaches us something important. Collapse often creates the conditions for dominance. If civilizations rise and fall in deep time, then extinctions may act as the gates through which new worlds are born. The Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, the fall of the dinosaurs. And then, of course, the most famous of all. 66 million years ago, a rock from space the size of a mountain slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact was apocalyptic: earthquakes, tsunamis, a global firestorm, and a nuclear winter-like darkness that lasted years. In that silence, the dinosaurs, rulers of the earth, were gone. Only the small, the adaptable, the survivors endured. Among them were tiny mammals, shivering in the shadows. They would inherit the world. This moment of destruction is what eventually gave rise to us. Without it, humans might never have existed. Forgotten extinctions, forgotten histories. When we list these events, we see the scale of erasure. Time and again, life has been reset, reordered, and reborn. Between these events are hundreds of millions of years, gaps so vast that entire civilizations could have risen, fallen, and been erased without a trace. Imagine a society that flourished 300 million years ago, before the Great Dying. Advanced, intelligent, and capable. Then catastrophe struck, wiping nearly all life from the earth. What chance would their ruins have, ground under shifting continents, burned in lava, or washed away by ancient seas? We humans measure our civilizations in thousands of years. But the earth measures in millions. In that scale, civilizations could be erased as if they had never been. The sixth extinction, our present moment. Today, many scientists warn we may be entering a sixth mass extinction, one driven not by asteroids or volcanoes, but by humanity itself. Habitat destruction, climate change, and the spread of invasive species are pushing countless animals toward the brink. If this continues, our own age may one day be marked in the rocks as another great dying. The difference is that this time, the driver is us. But in imagining the sixth extinction, we confront a sobering possibility. If civilizations have come before us, might they too have contributed to their own downfall? Might the story of civilization always end this way, in self-destruction, with only faint traces left behind? Extinctions as hidden veils. Extinctions act like veils, drawing curtains across epochs of time. Behind those veils, whole worlds may have existed. Civilizations could have risen, built wonders, fallen into ruin, and then been wiped clean by catastrophe. The rocks record the collapses, but they do not tell us everything about what was lost in between. The forgotten extinctions remind us that our planet is not stable, not permanent. It is dynamic, fragile, and often merciless. Civilizations, if they existed, may be far more common than we think, but they are also far more temporary. And so, when we look at the story of life through the lens of extinction, we begin to see how possible it is that we are not the first. Chapter 5: Echoes Beneath the Ice. Ice is both a preserver and a destroyer. It conceals, it erases, and sometimes, miraculously, it protects. When we peer into Earth's frozen history, we discover not only the dramatic swings of climate that shaped our planet, but also the possibility that deep beneath glaciers and permafrost lie the faint echoes of forgotten civilizations. For if entire worlds could be buried beneath oceans and erased by fire, what might remain hidden under endless miles of ancient ice? The rhythm of ice ages. Over the last 2.6 million years, Earth has endured a repeating cycle of glacial and interglacial periods. Massive ice sheets advance from the poles, covering continents in walls of ice thousands of feet thick. Then, over tens of thousands of years, the climate warmed, and the ice retreated. This cycle has repeated dozens of times. During the height of the last ice age, around 20,000 years ago, sea levels were over 400 feet lower than today. Vast regions now underwater, like the continental shelves, were dry land. Rivers cut deep valleys, forests stretched across what is now seabed, and coastlines looked entirely different. It was in this period, according to mainstream archaeology, that early humans spread across the globe, eventually giving rise to agriculture and civilization. But what if this isn't the whole story? What if the glaciers, in their comings and goings, have not only shaped our world but also buried and erased traces of cultures far older than we imagine? Ice as an eraser. One of the most powerful qualities of ice is its ability to scour landscapes clean. When glaciers move, they grind mountains into gravel, bulldoze valleys, and sweep away everything in their path. Cities, monuments, even entire civilizations, if they had existed beneath advancing ice sheets, would be crushed beyond recognition. North America and Northern Europe, for example, were once buried beneath sheets of ice more than 2 miles thick. Any trace of human, or non-human, structures there would have been pulverized and erased. The geological scars we see today, U-shaped valleys and scraped bedrock, are reminders of the glacier's immense power. So if civilizations once lived in these regions, their remains might never be found. They would be gone, not just forgotten but obliterated. Ice as a preserver. And yet, paradoxically, ice can also preserve. In frozen ground, organic material that would otherwise rot away can survive for tens of thousands of years. We have found mammoths, perfectly frozen in Siberian permafrost, their fur intact, their last meals still in their stomachs. We have discovered ancient human remains, like Ötzi the Iceman, a man who died over 5,000 years ago in the Alps, preserved so well that scientists could study his tattoos, his clothes, and even his final meal. If nature can preserve these fragile remnants, what else might be waiting, locked away beneath ice we have yet to uncover? Could tools, scrolls, or artifacts of long-lost cultures still rest in frozen tombs? Could the ice be holding the whispers of entire civilizations? Antarctica, the frozen continent of mystery. Perhaps no place on Earth fires the imagination more than Antarctica. Today it is a continent of ice, desolate and lifeless. Yet millions of years ago, it was covered in forests and teeming with life. Satellite imagery has revealed curious shapes beneath the ice, mountain ranges, subglacial lakes, and strange patterns that invite speculation. The continent's thick ice has covered it for at least 15 million years. But beneath those miles of frozen weight lies a world we barely understand. Some fringe theories suggest that an ancient civilization might have once lived on Antarctica, back when it was ice-free. If so, their remains would now be hidden under thousands of feet of glacial cover, waiting in silence. While mainstream science sees no evidence for this, the possibility reminds us of how much we don't know. Antarctica is larger than the United States and Mexico combined, yet almost none of it has been thoroughly explored. Could echoes of a forgotten history be buried there, sealed in the cold? The lost coastlines of the Ice Age. One of the most intriguing consequences of the Ice Age is the lowering and rising of sea levels. When glaciers grow, sea levels drop, exposing vast tracts of land. When they melt, oceans rise again, drowning coastlines. This means that many of the places early civilizations would have favored, rich coastal plains, fertile river mouths, and trade-friendly shorelines, are now underwater. The ruins of Dvarka in India, the mysterious structures off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, and submerged settlements in the Mediterranean all hint at this truth. The seas have swallowed countless ancient sites. If a civilization older than we currently believe existed during the last ice age, much of its evidence would now lie beneath the waves, out of sight. And here, the ice plays its role again. Glaciers lower seas, civilizations thrive on new coastlines, then when the ice retreats, the oceans flood back, erasing their works. The voice of the ice cores. Yet there is another way ice speaks, through its memory. In Greenland and Antarctica, scientists drill deep into the ice, extracting long cylinders called ice cores. These cores are like time capsules. Trapped inside are tiny bubbles of air from hundreds of thousands of years ago. They tell us about ancient climates, volcanic eruptions, even meteor impacts. And intriguingly, they sometimes show sudden, mysterious changes, rapid warming events, spikes in greenhouse gases, or unusual chemical traces. Most are explained by natural cycles. But some researchers have wondered, what if one day we find chemical signatures that do not match any known natural process? What if we discovered traces of industrial pollution, not from our time, but from 100,000 years ago? It would be the ultimate evidence of a civilization erased by ice and time. The silence of the frozen world. For now, the ice holds its secrets. The glaciers creep, the seas rise and fall, and whatever stories are buried beneath them remain beyond our reach. But as our technology improves, satellites scanning beneath ice sheets, submersibles mapping sunken coastlines, and drills reaching deeper into frozen cores, we may uncover evidence of forgotten histories. Perhaps not of advanced civilizations, but of human migrations, cultures, and lifeways that rewrite what we think we know. Or, just maybe, of something more, an echo of a people who lived and fell long before us. A warning from the ice. There is also a caution in this story. The ice reminds us of how fragile our own place in history truly is. Climate shifts have buried and erased worlds before, and they can do so again. We live in an interglacial, a warm pause between cycles of ice. It has lasted about 12,000 years, the exact span of time during which human civilization has flourished. Coincidence, perhaps, but a sobering one. If the ice returns, advancing once more, what will remain of us? Will our cities be ground into dust, our achievements erased, our legacy reduced to whispers trapped in frozen cores? The echoes beneath the ice remind us, history is not secure. It is fragile, fleeting, and always at risk of being buried beneath the cold. Chapter 6: The Ocean's Secret Archives. If the glaciers are the keepers of frozen time, then the oceans are the keepers of silence. Beneath their endless waves lies a library older than human memory, a vast archive of drowned landscapes, buried artifacts, and forgotten histories. To look upon the sea is to look upon mystery. It covers more than 70% of our planet, and yet we have explored less than a fraction of its depths. Beneath its surface may lie the greatest untold story of all, the story of civilizations erased by water. The power of rising seas. Throughout Earth's history, oceans have risen and fallen dramatically. During the last ice age, sea levels were more than 400 feet lower than today. Entire continents stretched farther, coastlines expanded, and vast plains connected lands now divided by water. When the glaciers melted, the seas surged forward, swallowing those plains forever. Ancient river valleys became bays, mountain ridges became chains of islands, and human settlements, if they existed, were drowned beneath hundreds of feet of water. Imagine, for a moment, a thriving culture living along a fertile Ice Age coastline, their villages dotting the river mouths, their temples overlooking the sea. When the waters rose, those worlds would vanish, leaving only silence. Today, any trace of such civilizations would be locked beneath silt, coral, and crushing pressure. The continental shelves, Earth's drowned lands. The key to this mystery lies in the continental shelves, the shallow areas around continents that were once dry land during lower sea levels. These shelves represent an area of land twice the size of modern Europe. It is here, not in deserts or mountains, that the richest evidence of lost cultures might lie. Why? Because humans, and potentially earlier civilizations, have always favored coastlines. They are the crossroads of trade, the richest sources of food, and the most fertile grounds for growth. The problem is access. Exploring the continental shelves requires submersibles, sonar mapping, and expensive expeditions. So far, we have only skimmed the surface. And yet, what little we've found is tantalizing. Submerged mysteries around the world. All across the globe, we find hints of lost worlds beneath the waves. Dwarka, India. Off the coast of Gujarat lie ruins that some believe could be over 9,000 years old. Stone walls, streets, and artifacts lie drowned beneath the Arabian Sea, suggesting a city older than any we know. Yonaguni, Japan. Massive stepped structures rest on the seafloor near Okinawa. Some argue they are natural formations. Others claim they are ancient monuments carved by human hands, long before known history. The Mediterranean, countless cities, Heracleion in Egypt, Pavlopetri in Greece, lie beneath shallow waters, drowned not by rising seas but by earthquakes and subsidence. They remind us how quickly the ocean can reclaim human creation. These examples may be only the beginning. For every ruin discovered, there could be 100 more lying silent beneath the continental shelves, unreachable, unrecognized, or mistaken for mere rock. Coral, the ocean's archivist. Nature itself conspires to hide these mysteries. Coral reefs, for example, grow over stone, covering ruins with living architecture. A once proud temple could, over millennia, become the heart of a reef, its carvings buried under layers of coral. To divers today, such structures may appear as nothing more than natural seafloor. But if stripped of coral, would they reveal sharp edges, deliberate designs, and inscriptions from forgotten builders? In this sense, coral acts as both protector and concealer, guarding the ocean's archive until human curiosity digs deeper. Deep time, deep silence. What makes the ocean so powerful as a vault is its silence. Unlike deserts or mountains, which leave ruins exposed to wind and erosion, the sea buries its secrets quickly. Silt, sand, and sediment drift down, layer upon layer, sealing the past. In the Black Sea, for instance, oxygen-poor waters at certain depths preserve organic material in ways rarely seen elsewhere. Wooden ships thousands of years old have been found almost intact, masts still standing, ropes still coiled. If the ocean can preserve a ship for millennia, what else might it hold? Perhaps scrolls sealed in jars, tools, or even fragments of writing that could reveal the thoughts of cultures lost to time. Legends of floods, myths as memory. Nearly every culture on Earth carries stories of great floods. From the tale of Noah's Ark in the Bible, to Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh, to flood legends among indigenous peoples across the Americas and Pacific, these myths share striking similarities. Could they be memories of real events, the rising seas that followed the Ice Age? If so, these legends might not be mere allegories, but the faint cultural memory of worlds drowned, of civilizations swallowed by the oceans. They could be whispers of the very archives we now seek beneath the waves. Technology meets the deep. Only recently have we gained the tools to truly explore these underwater frontiers. Sonar mapping, remote-operated vehicles, and submersible drones now allow us to see the seafloor in detail once impossible. Projects like the exploration of the Doggerland region, once a vast landmass connecting Britain to Europe, have revealed the remains of ancient forests, rivers, and even traces of human habitation. This land, lost beneath the North Sea, was once home to thriving communities before it was swallowed by rising seas around 8,000 years ago. Doggerland is a reminder. Whole nations can vanish, leaving behind nothing but the quiet testimony of the seabed. The ocean's unwritten history. What we have uncovered so far is only a beginning. If we had the resources to fully map the continental shelves of the world, we might rewrite history itself. Imagine scanning the seafloor of the South China Sea, the Caribbean, or the Persian Gulf, regions that were once fertile plains during the Ice Age. What ruins, what artifacts, what forgotten cities might lie there? And even if we found them, the story would not be simple. Were they truly advanced civilizations, or simply early human communities lost to time? The ocean does not give up its secrets easily. Each find raises as many questions as it answers. A mirror for ourselves. The thought of lost civilizations beneath the sea also holds a warning for us today. Our modern cities, too, are clustered along coastlines. If sea levels were to rise dramatically again, what would happen to New York, London, Shanghai, or Mumbai? In 1,000 years, would future explorers dive where our skyscrapers once stood, finding only coral-covered towers and rusted steel, wondering who built them? The ocean, in its patience, shows us that nothing we build is permanent. The waves are patient. They will take back everything in time. The ocean's endless whisper. And so the ocean whispers to us, its tides eternal, its secrets infinite. It hides its history not in books or scrolls, but in drowned valleys, buried temples, and silt-covered ruins. It is both a destroyer and a preserver, a keeper of silence and of memory. Somewhere beneath those waves may lie the missing chapters of human history, or perhaps even evidence of civilizations that rose and fell long before us. To look out at the sea, then, is to look into the greatest mystery of all, the untold archive of Earth, waiting patiently in the dark. Chapter 7: Fire, Ash, and Forgotten Worlds. If the oceans are the silent archivists of history, then volcanoes are its destroyers and sculptors. Throughout Earth's long story, fire has both ended civilizations and given birth to new landscapes. Entire cultures have been erased not by the slow creep of time, but in a single, violent moment of eruption. To understand the possibility of forgotten civilizations, we must turn our eyes to the mountains of fire that rise from Earth's crust. They are more than scenery. They are both creators and erasers of history. The dual nature of fire. Volcanoes are paradoxes. They destroy with terrifying power, yet the fertile soils they leave behind can support abundant life for centuries. Entire societies have flourished on volcanic slopes, enjoying rich harvests while living under the shadow of destruction. But when the mountain awakens, there is no warning strong enough. In minutes, cities can be buried, people extinguished, and histories lost beneath ash and stone. Unlike water, which erodes slowly, volcanic destruction is instant. It entombs. It preserves. It seals moments of human existence in perfect detail, like insects caught in amber. Pompeii, a window into the past. Perhaps the most famous example is Pompeii. In the year 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius erupted, unleashing fire, ash, and poisonous gases. Within hours, Pompeii and its neighboring towns were buried. Thousands perished, frozen in their final acts, some reaching for loved ones, others hiding, others attempting to flee. For nearly 1,700 years, Pompeii lay forgotten beneath the earth, its memory erased. When excavations began in the 18th century, what was uncovered shocked the world: streets, homes, frescoes, even graffiti, all preserved in remarkable detail. Pompeii revealed not just destruction, but the intimacy of everyday life. The arrangement of food on a table, the murals on a villa wall, the handwriting of ordinary people. The city became a time capsule, showing us that volcanic fire can, paradoxically, preserve history as much as it obliterates it. Now imagine civilizations older than Pompeii, entire cultures buried in eruptions long before recorded history. If we could peel away the ash and stone of the distant past, what would we find? Supervolcanoes, extinction on a global scale. Not all eruptions are local tragedies. Some are planetary events. The most infamous example is the eruption of Toba in Indonesia, around 74,000 years ago. It is believed to be one of the largest eruptions in Earth's history, ejecting billions of tons of ash into the atmosphere. For years, scientists debated whether this eruption nearly wiped out humanity, bottlenecking our population to just a few thousand survivors. While the severity of its impact is still studied, one thing is certain. Toba reshaped climates, darkened skies, and left scars across the planet. If any advanced culture had existed at that time, Toba would have erased much of it. Cities reduced to ash, artifacts buried deep beneath volcanic deposits, entire regions rendered unrecognizable, lost under lava. Volcanoes don't just scatter ash. They also unleash lava flows that bury everything in their path. Unlike ash, which can preserve fragile details, lava obliterates. It consumes wood, melts stone, and erases all trace of what once stood. But here lies another paradox. Beneath hardened lava, remnants may survive. Just as Pompeii's ash froze a moment in time, lava can form protective tombs. Archaeologists have found imprints of ancient villages beneath basalt layers, sometimes revealing tools, bones, or outlines of structures. Consider Seren in El Salvador, a Mayan farming village buried around 600 AD by the eruption of the Loma Caldera volcano. Known as the Pompeii of the Americas, it was preserved beneath volcanic ash, showing kitchens, gardens, and everyday life, almost untouched by time. This small village is a reminder. If such preservation can occur in recent history, could entire, older civilizations still lie locked beneath volcanic layers, undiscovered? Myths of fire and destruction. Across the world, myths echo with stories of fiery cataclysms. The Greeks told of Atlantis, swallowed not only by the sea but also connected in some versions to volcanic disaster. Hawaiian legends speak of Pele, the goddess of fire, shaping and reshaping the islands with eruptions. The indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest speak of great fire mountains that roared and changed the land. Could these myths be memories of real volcanic events? Ancient storytellers may have witnessed mountains explode, skies darken, and lands vanish. Over time, these memories may have grown into legends, but their roots may lie in truth. The silence of buried worlds. The challenge is that volcanic deposits are thick, heavy, and unforgiving. Unlike ruins eroded by wind or water, those buried beneath lava may remain hidden indefinitely, locked in stone. To find them, scientists must cut deep into basalt layers, often requiring modern drilling technology. It is possible that beneath some volcanic plains, places we now see as lifeless rock, there lie entire towns, sealed away forever. What secrets lie beneath the vast lava fields of Iceland? Or under the hardened basalt of India's Deccan Traps, formed by ancient supereruptions? Could we be walking unknowingly atop buried histories? Fire as a global reset. Volcanoes don't just erase cities. They can reset entire ecosystems. After a major eruption, forests vanish, rivers change course, and fertile plains become deserts of ash. Populations are displaced, and survivors must rebuild from nothing. This cycle of destruction and rebirth means that evidence of past civilizations could be scattered or fragmented, erased in ways difficult for archaeologists to trace. Unlike the ruins of deserts or mountains, which can be uncovered by careful excavation, volcanic destruction hides itself beneath new landscapes. Lessons for our time. The possibility of fire erasing civilizations is not just a question of the past, it is a warning for the present. Around the world, millions live near active volcanoes, drawn by fertile soil and trade routes. Cities such as Naples, Quito, and Manila sit in the shadow of restless mountains. A single eruption, on the scale of Vesuvius or Toba, could one day bury our own achievements. Skyscrapers, highways, and technology, all sealed beneath layers of stone, waiting for some distant future archaeologist to unearth them. If civilizations before us have risen and fallen in similar ways, their traces may lie out of reach, hidden beneath the weight of time and fire. Fire, ash, and the unknown. In the end, volcanoes remind us of the fragility of history. They show us that what feels eternal, the structures we build, the stories we write, can vanish in an instant. A single eruption can erase centuries of progress, turning bustling cities into silent ruins, forgotten until rediscovery. Perhaps this has already happened, not once but many times. Perhaps beneath layers of volcanic ash lie the lost chapters of human history, or even the records of civilizations older than humanity itself. The earth, in its fiery breath, may have written and erased entire stories long before we arrived. And so the mountains of fire stand as both guardians and executioners of history. They keep their secrets sealed in ash and stone, waiting for the rare moment when humanity dares to dig deeper. Chapter 8: Whispers in Stone. Stone is patient. It weathers storms, outlasts forests, and endures long after wood, metal, or bone have decayed. For countless civilizations, stone became both a canvas and a monument, a way to whisper across the ages. When we speak of lost civilizations, it is often the stones they left behind that first raise our questions. Monoliths, pyramids, temples, and strange carvings emerge from the earth, calling to us with a voice as old as time. We were here. Remember us. But the stones do more than mark presence. They challenge us. Some speak of knowledge that seems too advanced, alignments too precise, or purposes we cannot explain. They force us to ask, were these truly the works of the cultures we know, or fragments of something much older? The eternal question of megaliths. Across every continent, immense stone structures rise from the ground. In England, Stonehenge stands in silent mystery, its circles aligned with the solstices. In Egypt, the pyramids of Giza reach toward the heavens, their geometry seemingly eternal. In Peru, the walls of Sacsayhuaman interlock with such precision that even a knife blade cannot slide between the stones. These sites are testaments to human ingenuity, but also puzzles. How did ancient builders move stones weighing hundreds of tons, often from quarries miles away? How did they align their works so precisely with the stars and seasons? Were these achievements the result of methods now forgotten, or do they hint at knowledge passed down from civilizations deeper in time? Göbekli Tepe, a civilization before its time. One of the most stunning discoveries of the modern age is Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. Dating back nearly 12,000 years, it rewrote our understanding of early societies. Before Göbekli Tepe, scholars believed humans at that time were simple hunter-gatherers, too focused on survival to build monumental architecture. Yet here stand vast stone enclosures, carved with animals, abstract symbols, and deliberate design. The site predates Stonehenge by more than 6,000 years. It suggests that complex organization, spirituality, and artistry existed far earlier than we imagined. But Göbekli Tepe raises more questions than it answers. Who built it? Where did they learn the skills to quarry and shape massive stones? Why, after so much effort, was it deliberately buried? Could this be a remnant of an earlier civilization, its memory fading into myth while its stones endure? Alignments with the stars. Many ancient structures appear to reflect knowledge of the heavens. The Great Pyramid aligns almost perfectly to the cardinal directions. Stonehenge frames the sunrise on the summer solstice. The ancient city of Teotihuacan in Mexico seems to mirror the layout of the Orion constellation. These alignments were not accidents. They required careful observation, mathematical precision, and generational knowledge. Yet in some cases, the sophistication seems to exceed what we expect from the cultures that built them. Could this astronomical wisdom have been inherited? Could the builders have been carrying echoes of knowledge from a civilization that came before? The language of stone. Carvings, too, whisper from the past. At sites across the globe, mysterious symbols appear: spirals, concentric circles, abstract forms. Some recur across continents separated by oceans, raising the question of whether they reflect a universal language, or perhaps a shared origin. In Bolivia, the site of Pumapunku holds stones cut with laser-like precision, as though shaped with tools far beyond the bronze chisels of the time. In Easter Island, the massive Moai statues gaze inland, silent guardians whose purpose is still debated. These stones seem to carry messages, though their meanings are locked away. Were they religious symbols, astronomical records, or something else entirely? Stones that shouldn't be there. Even more puzzling are the places where stones appear that seem to defy history. In South Africa, stone circles dot the landscape, some claimed by researchers to be tens of thousands of years old. In India, at the site of Mahabalipuram, legend tells of 7 temples, 6 of which were swallowed by the sea. Divers have found submerged structures nearby, suggesting the legends may hold truth. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni Monument lies beneath the waves, massive steps and terraces carved into the bedrock. Debate rages over whether it is a natural formation or the work of human hands. If artificial, it may be over 10,000 years old, predating all known civilizations of the region. Each discovery feels like a whisper breaking through the static of time, a reminder that history may be far deeper than we currently believe. Memory carved in rock. Cultures often encoded their myths and beliefs in stone, not just for durability, but for transmission. Petroglyphs, statues, and megaliths became vessels of memory. Yet without the context of language or tradition, much of their meaning is lost. Still, these stones invite us to imagine. Perhaps they are not only religious symbols, but maps, records, or warnings. If a past civilization sought to communicate with the future, carving into stone would be among the most reliable ways. Imagine a culture facing extinction from flood or fire. Knowing their cities would be erased, they might carve knowledge into rock, hoping some distant generation would uncover it. Could the stones we puzzle over today be such messages? Messages we have yet to fully decode? A shared pattern. What unites these stone monuments across the globe is their persistence. Wood rots, metals corrode, but stone endures. Even when toppled or buried, it lingers. That is why whispers of forgotten civilizations are most likely to reach us through stone. But stone alone cannot tell the full story. Without writing, without context, we are left to interpret shadows. The challenge is separating what belongs to the cultures we know, and what, if anything, might belong to civilizations long forgotten. The living stones. Perhaps the most haunting thought is this. Many of these sites were not meant to be abandoned. They were sacred centers, hubs of community, symbols of identity. The fact that they now stand in ruin means something catastrophic must have shifted: climate, conquest, or catastrophe. When we stand among them today, we are not only archaeologists but dreamers. We listen for whispers in stone, straining to hear voices that may belong not just to the cultures we know, but to entire chapters of history erased by time. Closing thought. Stone is the bridge across ages. It carries hints of civilizations we barely know, and perhaps of those we do not know at all. It is silent, but not mute. It waits for us to look closer, to listen more carefully. If civilizations older than we imagine once walked this earth, their words may already surround us, carved into megaliths, etched into forgotten walls, waiting patiently in the whisper of stone. Chapter 9: Shadows Beneath the Waves. If Earth holds secrets of forgotten civilizations, perhaps the greatest of them lie not on land, but beneath the sea. The oceans are vast and merciless. They cover more than 70% of our planet, swallowing mountains, valleys, and coastlines. What was once dry land is now lost beneath waves, buried beneath silt and coral. For any civilization unfortunate enough to dwell along ancient shorelines, time and water would be their destroyers. Yet, even in this watery silence, whispers of human presence endure. Strange ruins, mysterious formations, and submerged cities tell us that what we see today is only a fraction of humanity's story. The memory of floods. Almost every culture carries myths of a great flood. The Sumerians told of Ziusudra, saved from rising waters. The Bible speaks of Noah's Arkansas. In Hindu tradition, Manu was warned by a fish of a flood that would drown the world. Even the indigenous peoples of the Americas have legends of a time when water swept away their ancestors. For centuries, scholars dismissed these as myths, metaphors for cleansing or renewal. But geology paints a different picture. At the end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, vast sheets of ice melted, raising sea levels by more than 100 meters. Entire coastlines vanished. Cities, villages, and sacred sites built near the sea would have been swallowed, leaving behind little more than memories carried forward as myth. Yonaguni, Japan's submerged mystery. Off the coast of Yonaguni Island in Japan, divers discovered an astonishing structure in the 1980s. At first glance, it looks natural: massive stone terraces, broad steps, and angular formations. But as divers explored further, doubts arose. The shapes seemed deliberate. Edges ran straight, surfaces were flat, and the arrangement looked architectural. Some claimed it was a natural geological formation. Others argued it was the ruins of a sunken city, perhaps older than any known Japanese civilization. Among the terraces lie what appear to be roads, platforms, and even the remnants of carvings, features that suggest intentional design. If human hands shaped Yonaguni, it could date back more than 10,000 years, long before the rise of any recorded civilization in the region. Could Yonaguni be a fragment of a forgotten people, drowned when the seas rose? Or is it simply nature imitating human form? The debate remains unresolved, but the mystery lingers. The cities beneath the Indian Ocean. In the year 2001, marine archaeologists exploring off the coast of Dvarka in India uncovered astonishing remains. Sonar scans revealed geometric structures, walls, steps, and what seemed to be streets. Diving expeditions confirmed that beneath the waves lay the ruins of a vast city. Carbon dating suggested the structures could be at least 9,000 years old, predating even Mesopotamia's earliest cities. This timeline challenged conventional history, which places advanced urban centers much later. Local legends spoke of Dvarka as the fabled city of Lord Krishna, said to have been swallowed by the sea. What was once dismissed as myth now seemed rooted in truth. If Dvarka truly existed so long ago, it forces us to ask, how many other cities might have been erased by rising seas, leaving behind only stories disguised as mythology? The Caribbean Silent Pyramids. In 2001, reports surfaced of divers encountering vast stone formations off the coast of Cuba. Among them, pyramid-like structures, arranged as though part of a city. Some sonar scans revealed roads and symmetrical buildings. Skeptics argued it was nothing more than geological trickery, but the images stirred imaginations. Could this be evidence of a Caribbean civilization older than the Maya? The region's shifting tectonic plates, along with rising seas, could have easily hidden entire landscapes beneath the ocean. Yet, the truth remains tantalizingly out of reach, trapped beneath miles of water and sediment. Atlantis, a symbol or a memory? No discussion of submerged civilizations is complete without Atlantis. The story comes from the philosopher Plato, who described an advanced island nation that fell into the sea in a single day and night of catastrophe. For centuries, Atlantis has been dismissed as allegory, a parable about pride and downfall. But some wonder, could Plato's tale preserve a fragment of memory, an echo of a real civilization destroyed by flood or disaster at the end of the Ice Age? From the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, countless places have been proposed as Atlantis. None have proven definitive. Yet the persistence of the myth suggests it may be more than mere fiction. Perhaps it is the memory of one of the many cities erased when the seas claimed the land. The hidden world below. What makes the ocean such a perfect vault for lost civilizations is their scale. We have mapped the surface of the moon more thoroughly than the ocean floor. Over 80% of our oceans remain unexplored. This means we may be living beside entire lost histories, hidden beneath waves only a few miles from familiar coastlines. Vast ruins could exist, entombed beneath silt and coral, unseen by human eyes for thousands of years. Closing thought. Beneath the waves lies silence, but not emptiness. The oceans guard their secrets well, cities drowned, temples forgotten, and monuments swallowed by time. Every discovery we make beneath the waterline, from Yonaguni to Dvarka, reminds us that our story is incomplete. If we truly wish to understand whether we were the first civilization, or merely the most recent, we must listen to the shadows beneath the waves. Because in those shadows, the past waits, patient and silent, for us to find it. Chapter 10. Fire and Ash. If water was the great eraser of civilizations, then fire was its violent twin. Throughout history, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and sudden cataclysms have reshaped our world. Entire cities have vanished in hours, swallowed by ash, magma, or shifting ground. But what if some of these disasters didn't just erase towns or kingdoms we already know? What if they buried entire civilizations so completely that only fragments remain, if anything at all? The fury of the earth. The earth is alive. Beneath our feet lies a restless mantle of molten rock. From time to time, this hidden world erupts with staggering force, reminding humanity that our civilizations are fragile guests on a turbulent planet. In Italy, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD preserved Pompeii and Herculaneum beneath layers of ash. These cities were not destroyed in the way we imagine, but frozen, perfectly sealed snapshots of daily life at the moment of disaster. If a single eruption could erase a thriving city so suddenly, how many other communities, perhaps older, perhaps unrecorded, met the same fate, but left no stone uncovered? The lost city of Akrotiri. On the Greek island of Santorini lies Akrotiri, a Bronze Age city buried by volcanic ash around 1600 BC. When excavated, archaeologists found advanced buildings, multi-story homes, and intricate frescoes. Some suggest that Akrotiri's sudden destruction may have inspired the tale of Atlantis. But Akrotiri is only one of many. The Mediterranean is littered with volcanic islands, each one carrying the potential for forgotten tragedies. The question is, how many cities were lost without preservation, crumbled and swallowed before history could even name them? The Ring of Fire's silent toll. The Pacific Ring of Fire is a vast chain of volcanoes and fault lines circling the ocean. Here, earthquakes and eruptions are constant companions. Civilizations along its rim have always lived under the shadow of destruction. Legends from the Philippines, Indonesia, and South America tell of entire islands vanishing beneath the sea after eruptions or earthquakes. In some cases, we can trace these stories to real geological events. In others, the evidence remains hidden beneath water or jungle. Could these be the faint echoes of civilizations wiped away by fire and ash, remembered only in story? The case of Krakatoa. In 1883, the eruption of Krakatoa in Indonesia shook the world. The blast was so loud it was heard thousands of kilometers away. Tidal waves swept across the region, killing tens of thousands. The island itself was obliterated, leaving only fragments of land where a lush, inhabited island had once stood. Now imagine such an event not in the 19th century, but 10,000 years ago. An island community, thriving but unknown to us, erased in an instant. No written records. No survivors to tell the tale. Just ash settling into the sea, burying all memory. Firestorms of prehistory. Geological records show evidence of super eruptions. One of the most devastating was Toba, in present-day Sumatra, around 74,000 years ago. Toba released more than 2,800 cubic kilometers of volcanic material, covering much of Asia in ash and plunging the world into a volcanic winter. Humanity itself nearly vanished. Genetic evidence suggests our species was reduced to only a few thousand survivors. If there had been other civilizations, small, scattered, perhaps already experimenting with agriculture or early structures, they would have been completely erased, with no chance of recovery. In the blink of an eye, fire can erase not only cities, but the very memory that they ever existed. Earthquakes and shifting ground. It is not only eruptions that threaten civilizations. Earthquakes can destroy as completely as fire. In 365 AD, a massive quake off Crete generated tsunamis that ravaged the Mediterranean, leveling cities along the coasts. Ancient texts describe it as an apocalyptic event, and some historians believe it marked the decline of certain regional powers. In South America, legends tell of great cities swallowed by the ground itself. Sinkholes, landslides, and shifting tectonic plates could have easily erased smaller civilizations without a trace. The forgotten survivors. When natural disasters strike, humanity clings to survival. Survivors tell stories, myths, and warnings to future generations. These stories, repeated over centuries, often take on spiritual or symbolic meanings. But behind them lies truth. The flood myths, the fire myths, the tales of gods angry with humanity, could they all stem from real events, where natural disasters destroyed not just homes, but entire civilizations? Closing thought. Fire and ash are merciless. They do not preserve, they consume. Unlike the oceans, which may protect ruins beneath silt, volcanoes and earthquakes leave little behind. Cities vanish into craters, temples crumble into molten stone, and knowledge is lost to the winds of catastrophe. When we ask whether we were truly the first civilization, we must remember, the earth itself is not a passive stage, but an active destroyer. And if others came before us, fire and ash may have been their final fate. Chapter 11: The Desert Secrets. If oceans erase with water, and volcanoes erase with fire, then deserts erase with time. Shifting sands swallow entire worlds, hiding them beneath dunes that stretch endlessly toward the horizon. Unlike floods or eruptions, deserts preserve. What they bury often remains intact, frozen in silence, waiting to be uncovered. But here lies the mystery. How many cities, how many civilizations, are still entombed beneath the endless sands? Sands of forgetfulness. The Sahara is vast. It covers nearly a third of Africa, once a lush, green land filled with rivers, lakes, and thriving wildlife. Thousands of years ago, it was fertile and alive. Today it is barren, and in its shifting landscape may lie the traces of forgotten peoples. Ancient maps drawn by explorers and scholars show rivers winding across what is now endless desert. Some of these maps point to the possibility of settlements lost to the sands, places erased when the climate shifted and the Sahara became the world we know today. Could it be that an entire civilization once flourished here, and is now hidden just a few meters below the surface? The lost cities of Zerzura. Arab chronicles speak of a white city in the desert, Zerzura. For centuries, explorers searched for it, following whispers of hidden oases, mysterious ruins, and lost kingdoms covered by dunes. None ever found it, but fragments of evidence, stone tools, abandoned dwellings, hint that something once thrived in these barren lands. The desert is merciless. It does not destroy quickly, but instead buries slowly, silently. Temples, roads, entire towns can be swallowed in a single sandstorm, hidden for thousands of years until the winds shift again. The pyramids' silent neighbors. We marvel at the pyramids of Giza, yet even here, mysteries remain. Beneath the sands surrounding the Great Pyramids are ruins not yet fully explored, structures that hint at older building phases, or perhaps forgotten settlements that supported the grand construction. The Sphinx itself tells a similar story. Its body shows signs of weathering by heavy rainfall, suggesting it predates the desert climate we see today. If this is true, it may have been built before the Sahara became a desert, perhaps by a civilization older than ancient Egypt. The Sahara's green past. Satellite images reveal dry riverbeds stretching across the Sahara. Once they carried water. Some led to ancient lakes where thriving communities could have settled. Today, the sands conceal their remains. Stone tools, pottery shards, and even rock carvings of giraffes, elephants, and crocodiles have been found deep in the desert. Clear evidence that people once lived where today only sand and silence remain. If fragments of life are visible above the surface, how much more lies hidden below? Arabia and beyond. It is not only Africa. The deserts of Arabia, too, hide forgotten stories. The ancient city of Ubar, sometimes called the Atlantis of the Sands, was thought to be a legend until explorers uncovered its ruins beneath the desert floor. It was a thriving trade hub, lost to time when shifting sands collapsed its foundations. If one lost city could remain buried for centuries, how many more wait beneath Arabia's endless dunes? The desert's silent witnesses. Unlike oceans or volcanoes, deserts preserve. In the stillness of the dry air, artifacts can remain untouched for millennia. A clay jar, a wall carving, a sealed tomb, all could lie just beneath the surface, protected by layers of sand. But this also means the desert holds secrets we have not yet discovered. Civilizations may have risen, thrived, and fallen long before our recorded history, their achievements hidden from view, their stories erased by time yet preserved beneath the dunes. Closing thought. The desert is a paradox. It destroys by hiding, not by burning. It buries but does not erase. Beneath the endless sands of the Sahara, the Arabian Peninsula, and beyond, the silence may not be emptiness. It may be the resting place of civilizations that came before us. When we look across the golden dunes stretching to the horizon, we are not just looking at barren wastelands. We may be staring directly at the graves of forgotten worlds. Chapter 12: Forests of Memory. If deserts bury with sand, then forests bury with life. Unlike the silence of the desert, the jungle is restless, alive with vines, roots, and the slow but steady march of trees that consume everything in their path. In forests, civilizations are not erased with emptiness, but with overgrowth. Cities become gardens, temples become mountains of moss, and stone is slowly claimed by green. It is in these forests, where the air is thick with mist and the cries of birds echo through the canopy, that some of humanity's greatest secrets may still remain. The jungle as a keeper of secrets. Unlike deserts, which preserve in stillness, jungles preserve by hiding. A city can vanish in just a few decades beneath a web of vegetation. Walls collapse, statues fall, and before long, the forest has woven itself into every crack, disguising the ruins as part of the natural world. To the casual eye, a buried temple may look like a simple hill. A broken city may resemble nothing more than trees standing on uneven ground. Yet beneath the roots lie forgotten histories. The temples of Angkor. Perhaps the most famous example lies in Cambodia. Deep in the forest, the sprawling temples of Angkor lay hidden for centuries. Built by the Khmer Empire, Angkor was once a metropolis, one of the largest cities of the ancient world. Its temples, like Angkor Wat, stood as grand testaments to its power. But when the empire declined, the jungle crept in. Roots twisted through stone walls, branches swallowed doorways, and slowly, the city disappeared beneath the canopy. By the time European explorers stumbled upon it centuries later, the jungle had nearly erased its existence. Imagine how many more Angkors may still sleep beneath the world's forests. The Amazon's hidden cities. For centuries, explorers claimed the Amazon was too harsh to support large civilizations. It was believed to be a wild, untamed land, never home to organized societies. But in recent decades, this story has changed. Beneath the dense jungle canopy, archaeologists have uncovered massive earthworks, geometric shapes carved into the ground, visible only from above. These are not random formations. They are the traces of roads, plazas, and settlements. The Amazon, it seems, may once have been home to thriving civilizations, connected by a vast network of roads and communities. But when disease and collapse came, the jungle moved in, reclaiming the land. Within a few centuries, almost every trace had vanished. Now, with tools like LiDAR scanning, scientists can peer through the canopy, revealing what the jungle hides. Each year, new ruins are discovered, remnants of civilizations once thought impossible. The Maya's forgotten world. In Central America, the Maya left behind pyramids, temples, and entire cities. But many of their greatest works were hidden for centuries by forests. Even today, archaeologists continue to uncover Maya cities long lost beneath the canopy. What we see, the Great Pyramids of Chichen Itza, the carvings of Palenque, the towering structures of Tikal, are likely just fragments of what once existed. Whole cities still sleep beneath the roots, invisible until technology reveals them. It is humbling to imagine. Perhaps the greatest Maya cities are not the ones we know, but the ones still hidden. Forests as living tombs. Forests are deceptive. To walk through them is to walk through history, though most of it lies buried. Each tree may be rooted in the foundations of a home. Each vine may wind around the stones of a forgotten temple. Each hill may be the bones of an ancient pyramid. Unlike the desert, which leaves the ruins bare beneath sand, forests conceal everything, folding civilizations into their own living body. The forest does not destroy, it absorbs. Closing thought. When we look at jungles, we often see wilderness, untamed, raw, untouched. But in truth, these green oceans may be covering entire worlds. Beneath the roots, the soil, and the canopy, lie the whispers of civilizations that rose, thrived, and fell, their legacies swallowed not by fire or flood, but by the relentless embrace of the forest. Perhaps one day, when the forests yield their secrets, we will discover that our planet has been home to more civilizations than we ever imagined. Chapter 13. The Mountains' Silent Watch. Mountains are guardians. They stand tall, unmoving, watching centuries pass beneath their peaks. Unlike the forest or desert, mountains are not quick to erase. Instead, they preserve in silence, holding on to traces of civilizations long gone. High among the ridges and valleys, entire worlds once thrived, kingdoms built not on flat plains but carved into stone, perched where clouds gather, and where survival itself was a constant test. The mystery of mountain civilizations. To most, mountains seem inhospitable, steep cliffs, thin air, harsh winters. Yet again and again, humanity has chosen to build in these places. Why? Perhaps because mountains offer protection. They are fortresses shaped by nature itself, walls no enemy can easily scale. But with isolation comes fragility. Once abandoned, mountain civilizations often vanish swiftly, leaving behind little more than stone foundations clinging to the slopes. Machu Picchu, the hidden citadel. The most famous of these is Machu Picchu, high in the Andes of Peru. For centuries, the citadel was hidden from the outside world, its stone terraces and temples camouflaged by the mountains. Built by the Inca, it was never discovered by the Spanish conquerors. When the Inca fell, Machu Picchu was left behind, untouched, cradled by mist and silence. For hundreds of years, the citadel watched the valleys below in secrecy until explorers stumbled upon it in the early 20th century. Imagine how many other Machu Picchus still linger in mountains across the globe, their stories waiting to be told. The cliff cities of Mesa Verde. In the deserts of the American Southwest, the ancestral Puebloans carved homes into sheer cliffsides. The great dwellings of Mesa Verde and Chaco Canyon are some of the most remarkable achievements in ancient architecture. For centuries, entire communities lived suspended in the rock, safe from invaders, with the cliffs themselves serving as walls. When these civilizations declined, the structures remained, hidden in plain sight, blending into the mountainside until rediscovered centuries later. Himalayan legends. The Himalayas are not just mountains, they are myth. Within their peaks, local legends speak of lost kingdoms, Shambhala, a hidden land of wisdom and enlightenment, said to be concealed somewhere in the mountains. Whether myth or memory, such stories echo the idea that the mountains may still be keeping secrets. The sheer scale of the Himalayas makes this entirely possible. Valleys remain unexplored, caves remain uncharted, and snow conceals what lies beneath. The Andes and forgotten empires. Beyond Machu Picchu, the Andes hide countless ruins, fortresses, road networks, and cities long abandoned. The Inca Empire was only the most recent in a chain of mountain civilizations. Before them came the Chavin, the Wari, and the Tiwanaku, all leaving traces in the highlands. Stone walls, ancient roads, and sacred temples cling to mountainsides, often overlooked until modern archaeologists stumble upon them. Many remain undiscovered, swallowed not by forest, but by sheer remoteness. Mountains as timekeepers. Mountains preserve in their own way. Stone endures. In some cases, walls and temples remain standing almost exactly as they were built, untouched for centuries. Yet mountains also conceal. Valleys remain hidden by fog, and cliffs protect what lies within their folds. It is no wonder so many myths and legends speak of lost civilizations in the mountains. They are places where the world feels both eternal and secretive. Closing thought. When we gaze at mountains, we see permanence, stone that has lasted for millions of years. But nestled in their shadows are fragile traces of human hands, steps carved into rock, villages perched above the clouds, temples aligned with the stars. The mountains are silent watchers. They do not reveal their secrets easily, but they keep them safe. And perhaps, hidden in their folds, entire forgotten civilizations are still waiting for us to notice.